Ayan had never liked hospitals. The smell of disinfectants, the cold light, the quiet halls, they all made him uneasy. But when the accident happened and he woke up in a hospital bed with pain shooting through his leg and shoulder, he had no choice but to stay. He expected the days ahead to be dull and difficult, but he never expected that his entire life would gently, quietly shift. The first time drive. Mehak walked into his room. He thought she was a nurse. She had a gentle expression, warm brown eyes, and a voice that made the room feel less cold. But when she looked at his chart and began asking questions with professional confidence, he realized she was the doctor assigned to him. "How are you feeling now?" she asked softly, checking his pulse. "A little like I got hit by a truck," he said with a weak smile. "That's because you did." She gave him a small laugh, the kind that made him notice the little dimple near her right cheek. He thought she would leave after the usual routine, but she stayed, explaining his injuries patiently without rushing. Something about the way she spoke made him listen, even though pain blurred his focus. When she finally walked out of the room, Ayan found himself oddly relieved that she would return the next morning. Over the next few days, Ayan saw her often. She checked his wounds, adjusted medicines, asked about his sleep, and made sure his recovery was steady. But it was the small moments in between that started to matter the most: her smile when he tried cracking jokes despite the pain, her concern when he pretended he was fine, her gentle scolding when he tried to move without help. One afternoon, when she came in for the routine checkup, Ayan was staring outside the window with a distant expression. She paused for a moment before asking, "What are you thinking about?" "Life," he replied, still looking outside. "It stopped so fast. Yesterday I was riding home, and then, everything changed." Mehak looked at him with quiet empathy. "Life doesn't stop," she said. "Sometimes it slows down so we can see things we ignored before." He looked at her, holding her gaze longer than usual. "Maybe you're right." The next days brought small conversations, little pieces of their lives shared between medicine and healing. He learned she worked long hours but loved her job. She learned he lived alone, worked in IT, and had no close family in the city. He noticed she always tied her hair in a loose knot. She noticed that he always tried to hide his pain behind humor. One evening, a sudden storm hit the city. Thunder rattled the windows, and the hospital lights flickered. Ayan couldn't sleep, the pain returning in waves. When Mehak stopped by on her night round, she noticed immediately. "You didn't rest," she said, adjusting his pillow. "Hard to sleep with the sky falling apart," he replied. She chuckled softly before placing a hand on his arm. "You'll be okay. I'm here." The moment was brief, but it left a warmth in Ayan's chest long after she left the room. As the days passed, Ayan started recovering. Physiotherapy began, slow, painful steps that tested his patience. Mehak often came to check on him while he walked with crutches, cheering for each progress. "One more step," she would say, standing with folded arms but an encouraging smile. "You say that like it's not torture," he joked. "It's healing," she corrected. Healing, a word that suddenly meant more than just recovering bones and muscles. One afternoon, during physiotherapy, Ayan lost his balance and nearly fell. Mehak rushed to catch him, her hand gripping his arm firmly. He steadied himself, and for a moment they were too close, close enough to feel each other's breath. She quickly stepped back, clearing her throat. "Please be careful," she said, trying to sound stern but failing to hide the concern in her eyes. "I'll try," he whispered, still looking at her. After that day, something unspoken began to settle between them. Their conversations grew softer, their silences more comfortable. Ayan noticed she sometimes looked at him longer than necessary. She noticed he listened to her as if every word mattered. But rules existed, rules that kept doctors and patients distant. Even if her heart softened, Mehak knew she couldn't cross the line. And even if Ayan felt something growing, he knew she wasn't someone he could casually confess to. The day of his discharge arrived faster than he hoped. Ayan packed slowly, feeling strangely sad. Mehak entered with his final reports, her expression controlled, almost too controlled. "So, this is it," he said quietly. "Yes," she replied. "You've recovered well. Just follow the routine and avoid strain. And, take care of yourself." He noticed the way her fingers tightened around the file she held. I will, he said. But I'll miss, he stopped, unsure. You'll miss what? She asked, though she already knew. Your scoldings. He smiled. And your smile. Her breath caught for a second, and she looked down, the faintest blush coloring her cheeks. Don't say things like that to your doctor, she whispered. Then don't be just my doctor, he replied softly. She looked up, stunned. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. Her lips parted, but nothing came out. The room grew quiet, full of emotions they couldn't name. Ayan, she finally whispered, I can't, while you're my patient. He nodded slowly. Then I'll stop being your patient today. He walked out of the hospital with crutches, turning one last time to see her standing at the doorway. Her eyes followed him, and he could feel the weight of the moment in every step. For weeks after his discharge, Ayan thought about her every single day. He followed the routine she set, healed gradually, and waited for a moment that might never come. He knew he couldn't force something she wasn't allowed to express. But fate works differently. One cool evening, while Ayan was walking slowly in a nearby park, still practicing with his cane, he heard a familiar voice behind him. You're walking much better now. He turned, surprised. Mehak stood there in casual clothes, her hair open for the first time. She looked less like a doctor and more like the woman he always wished she could be outside the hospital walls. How are you here? He asked, stunned. I come here often after work, she said. I didn't expect to see you, but I'm glad I did. There was no hospital between them now. No roles. No rules. Ayan took a careful step toward her. I wanted to meet you again, he admitted. Mehak breathed in deeply, her eyes softening. I wanted that too, she said gently. More than I should have. Silence settled between them, full and warm. Then maybe, Ayan said softly, we should start from where we couldn't continue. Her smile, slow, shy, but full, returned. Maybe we should. They walked together along the path, not rushed, not uncertain. Ayan felt the world become lighter with every step she matched beside him. Mehak felt something she hadn't allowed herself in years, the quiet promise of love. It wasn't dramatic or sudden. It grew the way flowers do, slow, delicate, steady. It grew each time he looked at her like she mattered. It grew each time she cared for him without being required to. It grew because healing sometimes comes from people, not medicine. And on that quiet evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Mehak gently slipped her hand into his. No words were needed. The moment was enough. Their story had begun in pain and hospital. Lights, but it didn't stay there. It moved into warm evenings, shared smiles, long conversations, and the kind of love that grows from understanding, patience, and unexpected closeness. Sometimes love heals more than wounds. Sometimes healing becomes love. And sometimes the person who treated your injuries ends up treating your heart. I hope you enjoy the video. Please subscribe to my channel, thank you.